there's a whole scene where three conversations are happening, but they're also kicking the ball to each other, and they're kind of doing this all throughout, and also having to time it very precisely so that as they come towards the front of the stage, it's their conversation that's starting.
So we're going to start. Could you give me a brief synopsis of The Wolves?
So The Wolves is set in the middle of America and is about a girls' football team that meets every Sunday. It's a school football team and it's set over kind of 4 or 5 weeks.
Why did you choose this play? Why would you choose The Wolves?
So I saw The Wolves a couple of years ago in New York at the Lincoln Center, and it kind of blew me away. There's a kind of new generation of young female writers who are writing really brilliantly, sharply about kind of young female experience. And this play really grabbed me, it really moved me, and I thought I would love to direct this play. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I really want to do it.
I want to talk about the dialogue in The Wolves because it's quite specific from what I've been told from people who were in it.
As soon as the play starts, 3 conversations are going on at once, and it's written in kind of 3 columns alongside each other. And there's so much kind of overlapping dialogue in the play that is a real kind of technical challenge for actors in terms of learning it in coordination. It creates this incredible rhythm in the play, so from the very start you're kind of choosing which conversation to listen to. At the beginning of every rehearsal, we play football together, we kick a ball to each other. There was kind of certain kind of games and sequences we had. There's also a warm-up that is done several times in the play, which we would do at the start of the play, and once you've done it a few times it's absolutely exhausting. So another big thing was that sort of level of physical fitness as well, which is a real challenge. Something I loved about directing this production, there's always a bit of chat at the start of rehearsals, but normally I kind of go, okay, let's get on with it. Whereas in this production, I used to chat for quite a while at the start of rehearsals, but the whole play is about a group of people talking to each other. And often when we were kind of warming up, it would be chat, lots of chat about all sorts of different things. So I think that's a really good learning thing for me. It doesn't work with every production, but for this play specifically, because ultimately plays are people talking to each other. And this play is incredibly conversational, and it doesn't become hard. It doesn't become so difficult because you actually realise it's just a group of people kicking a ball to each other, talking.
What is are you a football fan? Do you know how to play football? Because I mean, I have no idea. So if I was given this play to do, I'd probably cry for a bit and then have to go onto Wikipedia very quickly.
I haven't played football since I was at school when I was about 16. So that was a bit of a challenge. And also none of the cast had really played football very much, apart from one who'd been part of the team. So so I think all of us came from it, most of us were coming from it from a relationship of a bit of distance from the game itself. Yeah.
Do you think that, I don't know if it was the writer's intention, but do you think there's actually something quite similar with an audience going to watch a play and fans going to watch a football game? The idea of a community coming together, a room or a pitch, a match full of strangers, but actually you're all kind of there to support and enjoy and celebrate or cry together. There's actually quite a lot of similarities there.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of really great similarities between football and theatre. And I think, people have passion for theatre like they do for football as well. And it's such about a communal thing. I think we've sort of really noticed, with the Premiership, recommencing under lockdown conditions with no fans in the stadium at all, it becomes a very different thing, and it has a huge impact during the rehearsal period, we went to watch Chelsea ladies team, who are amazing, and you notice so much theatricality in it, and so it was really interesting to see the way they behave on the pitch, the way they talk to each other, conflict, kind of all those things that can kind of feed into a really good play as well.
I'd say a lot of the kind of staging really goes into the dialogue and the characters, because it's all one location, and it's quite simple. You obviously need a lot of space just so you can do the warm-ups and kind of the different exercises. Do you want to talk about your staging and your kind of set design?
Well, the staging of the play, Sarah DeLappe writes in the stage direction at the front, a football pitch, it should look as though it goes on forever, which is a kind of liberating stage direction and also tricky at the same time. I knew in terms of what we needed to do, there's always at least 9 people on stage, and I knew that needed a lot of room. So we used practically the entire of the Putney Arts Theatre stage, which is big and also wide as well. Not so many theatres are that wide, but actually the width is really helpful. And then also try to create a sense of depth by this kind of green. The stage was entirely green and then kind of sloped upwards. So the back of the stage was sloped back. So this sense of kind of perspective and this idea it was going on forever.
It's like the easiest get out ever, maybe. Just some paint and...
It was pretty quick. The play is so physically demanding. It's like, you know, if you normally in life, if you do a 10-15 minute warm-up, that's kind of all you do in a day. And they do it 4 or 5 times in the play alone. So rehearsals were hard physical work. But I suppose the big physical challenge was playing football on stage. Like, it's not meant to be done, really. And we kind of cheated quite a lot, I would say, in terms of making it believable. So it was really all about control of the ball, and we did a lot of kind of work on kind of doing that, because quite often, obviously on a football pitch, you're kicking a ball a real distance, whereas on stage, you're kicking it like literally sometimes 2 or 3 foot to each other. It's like a really small distance. We actually took the front row out, specifically for that reason, if any balls kind of came out. But actually in reality, when it came to doing the show itself, the cast was so good, the kind of control of the ball, and we had kind of methods where if balls went off, they could be retrieved quite easily and things like that. There's a whole scene where 3 conversations are happening, but they're also kicking a ball to each other. And it's one of the most difficult scenes I've ever directed. And at the same time, they all kind of move around as they're doing it, because we don't have a revolving stage at Putney, unfortunately. They had to keep moving as well as passing the ball to each other. And they're kind of doing this all throughout, and also having to time it very precisely so that as they come towards the front of the stage, it's their conversation that's starting. So yeah, definitely football technique was one of the hardest things in rehearsals.
Was there an excitement to be able to do a play that was not just about football, but about women's football?
Yeah, I think it's amazing that women's football has kind of like really broken through and become mainstream. It's not seen as niche or sort of lesser than the men's game. I think more credit needs to be given to women's sport and more airtime. It's starting to happen, but you know, it's nowhere near the amount of attention that gets paid, or also the money that gets paid to men's sport. I was really proud of what we achieved and what the cast achieved. We rehearsed the play just in eight weeks. And I think it's quite a feat. For most of them, they were on stage practically the whole time. And the play is an endurance for the actor. 90 minutes straight through, no interval. And for most of them, they don't really go off stage for that long. And in each scene, they don't really stop moving very much either. I look back on the walls with kind of great affection, really. I mean, the production happened, and then a week later, all the theatres in Britain closed. felt like quite a monumental thing to have been involved with that in that 2 months leading up to it. And then suddenly, not only did our theatre close, Putney Arts Theatre closed, but all the theatres across Britain, and obviously people's lives have been affected so much. It's about bringing a group of people together. And I think in community theatre that is incredibly important. It's about as much of the process of doing the play as it is presenting it for an audience. I mean, that's the end goal, and you want that to be the moment you're working towards, and that to be the best thing possible. But for me, it's bringing a group of people together. And what I suppose is special about this play is, I think, especially as a white bloke, I feel like it's so important to bring voices to the stage that aren't heard. And, you know, in this case, giving a young female voice on stage, but also creating, there's 10 brilliant roles for women in it, and each of them is so individual and specific. It might just be a slight thing that they realise about themselves that allows them to be them. And I think that's really key in a world where sometimes people can be marginalised because of who they are.
Did you not think you maybe have to have a warning as you go into the theatre? Like you may get, if you're on the front row, you may get a ball in the face, or were you confident that, you know, my girls would be fine, they'd keep it on the face?
I know, it was quite a dangerous play. I said it's like kind of acting with animals or children and footballs, like, because they're unpredictable.
Added to the list.
Yeah.